Hold on. Are we in the episode now? I just need to know mentally whether to like tune the fuck in.
Yeah, I need to know whether or not I have to listen to you.
You need to lock in, all right?
Okay. Because if we are in the episode now and we're doing like the 3 topics, then I want to redo my currently playing one because I didn't like how I talked about it. I think I needed a bit of time to like get to the point. So I would like to redo mine.
Oh.
I thought you were going to say, okay, princess.
What's the spoon for? Do you both have like fidget toys?
It's a spoon. It's like it's like from the Tick. Spoon.
Close back on a screwdriver.
Yeah.
Really easy to
Has
rotate.
an emotional support spoon, and Tom has the worst fidget spinner ever.
Ooh!
Did I say Tom again?
Yeah.
Don't tell him my real name. Now they're going to be really confused.
Cobb's real name isn't Tom. Like, that's the best part.
I do know a Tom. He's not on the podcast, though.
With an H?
Tom with an H. Tom. I do know a Tom with an H as well. What a guy. R.I.P. He's not dead. He's fine. R.I.P. today because it's Sunday. The day of rest. Isn't it, Banana?
This is a great episode.
I still don't know if I've got to lock in.
Before we begin, the Gamer's Advocate would like to remind you that any episode could contain game spoilers, so watch or listen with discretion. And now your hosts, AM Comnenos, Banana, and Legion. Enjoy the show.
You were mentioning your games that I guess you've been playing recently, so let her rip.
Yeah. Let's redo that.
How much did you record before I joined?
30 minutes.
An hour. Okay, 30 minutes. Same thing.
Well, yeah,
Problematic.
we just
He
been
did a-
recording. I don't know that any of it was usable.
Well, no, because he did a problematic accent at one point. And so did I by mistake.
Yeah.
Which- Right, one more try, and whatever it is, I'm going to roll with it.
All right. So there's some games we've been playing recently. I've been stuck on Anno, been hooked on that. But we'll start with you, Com. Com, what games have you been playing recently?
Yeah, I've been running back through my Metal Gear Solid backlog. So I've been playing Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, and I'm currently playing Metal Gear Solid 5. Slightly on the back burner because I know how big a game it is, so I've just started it, got a few missions in, and that's all. But I've been trying to go through all of the easily accessible Metal Gear Solid games. So 1, 2, and 3 are available in, I think it's called the Master Collection on Steam. 5 is just available. It's not that old. It's only about 11 years old now. So it's still just available, standalone product, nice and easy to purchase. 4, pretty much unavailable unless you happen to have a PS3. Peace Walker, pretty much unavailable unless you have, I think it's a PS Vita. Which is why now I will also take this moment to launch my campaign for the release of the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2, which should include Metal Gear Solid 4, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker, and Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. And if we really want, it should include the weird spin-off card game, Metal Gear Acid. But I'm okay if that's not in there. I'm not okay if Peace Walker's not in it. Oh, it's such a weird game. I think we've mentioned it before in the
We have.
Bastard
So
Children of
Legion
a
has
Series.
heard of it.
Yeah. But Banana had a moment of recognition when I said the name. Legion just had the cloudiest look in the eyes.
Never heard of it.
So that's my recents. Metal Gear Solid, trying to get through all of them. And I'm debating actually whether to play 5 for now. You can play 5 before 4. It's very possible. But I'm debating giving it 6 months to a year, seeing if Konami maybe eventually re-announce the Master Collection Part 2 and see if I can get 4 and Peace Walker, because I just think it's going to be much more satisfying to get through and get to the end of that story if I've been able to play the whole story in this one long line.
We had briefly covered like games that are extremely playable nowadays that still look good. And Metal Gear, we mentioned it before, the Revengeance. It's much more focused because it's not a Kojima game, but it's really good. It's a solid action RPG, solid one. And that one still looks good, even though it was, I think it's 8 years.
I think it came out before the Phantom Pain did, so
Maybe
it
so.
might be 2012, 2013.
Maybe so. Still looks good.
Honestly, go back and look at Metal Gear Solid 4, which I think is 2008. It looks fantastic. You can tell it's not from today. You can 100% tell it's got too many simplicities in character design. You know, these really smoothed out edges on the faces and clothing and things like that. You're never going to get all the folds and creases that you do in modern like character wear. But it still looks fantastic. There's something that we talked about before, is there's a point in video game history when we reach the diminishing returns on how good a game could look. I'm not sure if 4 was quite there yet, but somewhere between Metal Gear Solid 4 and Metal Gear Solid 5, that time frame, which might be right around Revengeance, it looks about as good as I'll ever need a video game to look. You can look better. Absolutely, go for it. I'd love that. But I don't need any more than that.
Yeah, I guess that's the difference of a developer using an engine that was built for those type of games versus things like Frostbite for that Dragon Age series. Oh, that was rough.
I still remember what an awful time I had just with the menus in Dragon Age Inquisition, just unresponsive, awkward to use. It was like playing Oblivion again.
Andromeda. So, but what about you, Banana? Any things you've been playing lately?
I have started Rebirth very, very recently, so I haven't made a ton of progress in that. Just played through the flashback, and now I'm running around outside comm. And I've also been playing Age of Empires 2.
Nice.
Because I can. Been achievement hunting in that game. That's going to take me roughly 10 years, because holy crap. Also, I didn't realize how much DLC there was for Age of Empires 2. There's like 14 times the cost of the game in just DLC. And I don't own any of it right now. I just own the base game. And even then, there's so many campaigns.
I believe 2 kept releasing DLC into the relatively modern day after they had that re-release. It must have been about 10 years ago now, that re-release. It's been quite a while.
Yep. Yeah, I think 3 has just like a handful of DLCs. It's like 4 or 5 or something. But Age of Empires 2 has like 20. It's ridiculous.
I always find that interesting with strategy games like this, that when you have like these long series, you know, Age of Empires, I think there's 4, maybe, possibly more. I don't know. Might of Magic, I know it goes up to at least 5, probably more. But I'm most fascinated by that there tends to be one that just hangs around. In this case, it's Heroes of Might and Magic 3, Age of Empires 2, and they just seem to have this longevity that the series doesn't have, but that game does. Am I correct in saying, this is just an assumption, I presume the achievements, there's going to be like one for every faction, right? Like winning as every... Oh, yeah. Those are rough.
Yeah. The base game isn't so bad because there's really not that many different civilizations represented in the base game, but the campaigns are a pretty significant investment. Each of them has, I think, like 5 missions at least, and some of them are really challenging strategically. It's not the same core, well, I mean, it's the same gameplay, but it's not build your base and just overpower an enemy. It's occasionally sometimes like micromanaging a small team as they navigate through the wilderness, and it's not the core gameplay that I know very well, so I've struggled with it. But it's a very nostalgic game for me. I've definitely enjoyed going back to it. The issue is just my completionist nature, where I'm like, oh, it has 384 achievements. Let's get them all. That'll be fun.
And I will not sleep until that day.
Yeah.
I've never did any of the campaigns for Age of Empires. Never did. Never touched
Did an
them.
introductory one. I can remember something with crocodiles in Age of Empires 1. I remember that. And I've definitely done some parts of... Is there a William Wallace campaign in 2? Or maybe it's William the Conqueror? William Wallace? Yeah.
I think William Wallace is set up to be like the first one you're kind of encouraged to play.
Yeah, I think I remember doing it like to learn the mechanics, but immediately after that, I think I ended up just skirmish mode forever. Just, set up a map and just play, which is all of my Age of Empires experience. I think that's going to be the case for a lot of people. You might have ducked in and dipped your toes into the campaigns, but you probably spent most of your time playing Age of Empires, just playing maps, just playing battles.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned Age of Empires 1 because I started with that. Age of Empires 1 only has 44 achievements. I was able to knock that out in like a week. Been playing Age of Empires 2 for like a month.
And he's got 6.
79 out of 344.
God.
So.
That's less than a quarter.
It is. Some of that is DLC. Like some of those I can't even access yet.
Okay.
I will have to spend money on the game.
Doesn't mean it wears on the soul any less, does it? They're still unmarked.
But I did do all the campaigns for Age of Mythology, which is a much that's a fun game to do the campaigns for. The very first battle, I don't know what to call it, the first act, because it's kind of like it's the same area but just done like in 3 stages, I guess. And so it's like almost like 3 episodes in one, I guess. But it's the same map. You're in the same have the same team that you have there, whatever. You're on the shoreline, and then at the end you're getting attacked from the sea, from the hills, and from the plains to the west, and that's your opening tutorial. It's like, wow, I'm glad I had some background in RTSs, because this would have been too much for me. But that Age of Mythology is sneakily a good story at the same time of being a good RTS. So. And they just did their enhanced one, which didn't get a lot of reception, mainly because it didn't really look that different from the original one, but it just plays better. It's more efficient. Doesn't have all the bugs like the first one did. It just has different kind of bugs.
Yeah, I think most of these games won't get recognition. Like remasters of all strategy games, it's a very small audience who wants them. There's only a few with any crossover appeal whatsoever. Age of Empires 2, I mean, that's one of them. And I could probably count the others on my hand if I really wanted to. And I'd probably need to stretch to like include the thumb, just because there's not that many that have mass appeal.
Yeah, I definitely think there's still an online community for Age of Empires 2. Because you can look at like multiplayer games and they're still active, which is not surprising, because I think Age of Empires 2 out of the 4 of them is like, that's the one people kind of stuck with. Even when they came out with later releases, it felt like people were going back to 2 just because it felt familiar, and it wasn't something that needed a lot of enhancement. They really kind of nailed the core gameplay in that one, and beyond that, it was mostly just polish that you got in Age of Empires 3 and 4.
Yeah, I think that's really hitting the nail on the head, is the idea that they kind of hit their formula. They didn't have much to do afterwards. It's the kind of game that honestly it probably only needed to just keep having expansion packs. They didn't need to make a new one, in the same way we don't really need a Dwarf Fortress 2. We could have just kept Age of Empires 2 and just build on top of that. As always, I'm glad they didn't, because I do like to see studios taking risks, and just because we want that doesn't mean it's a good idea. But in this case, we didn't really need Age of Empires 3. We could have just stuck with 2. I think the series that reminds me of the same thing is The Settlers. I think The Settlers 1 was a good game. The Settlers 2, they nailed their formula. And then afterwards, you didn't really need those.
Yeah, those guys went on to make the Pagonia game, which is a very, very good game, but it's more of a fantasy themed of the same thing as The Settlers, and it's great. It's Settlers though. So
what about you, Legion? What have you been playing?
Well, definitely that Anno game. I've been dying to play it. Finally got my hands on it, and it's meaty. It's a chunky game. It's got a lot going for it. Yeah, it's an Ubisoft game, so I always forget that it's an Ubisoft title because it's so good when it's really good, and it's gotten better over the years.
I was going to jokingly say because it's good,
yeah,
and then that's the direction you went with.
Yeah, because it's good. Yeah, I don't think of Ubisoft as having really generally good titles when they come out. Just don't. But I will say that Ubisoft, in titles in the past for sure, but like as time has gone on, but Anno's not one of them. Anno has gotten better over the years. 1800 was phenomenal. And so I said, as long as Anno never does a Rome game, I'm not going to have an issue. I'm not going to get hooked. And sure enough, they put a Rome game out. I'm like, damn, come on. And it's so good. And I can definitely see the bones of it's just Rome and some Celtic stuff, And I can see the bones of Anno has done in the past where it's like a Victorian age with the 1800. But you can also, they have like cosmetic DLCs for Asian influence or steampunk, things like that you can kind of decorate your city to make it look more in those themes. Still the same city building features. There's tons of trade, some minor RTS things if you want to integrate some military stuff in there. I'm not an achievement hunter. I've got already 12 hours into this game and I may have 4 achievements. And I thought I was doing really well. I thought my town was growing really well. I thought, I said, I'm going to do kind of like the sandbox almost type. I just want to unlock everything rather than learn. I did most of the campaign, but I'm like, just let me loose. I know what I'm doing now. They're not teaching me anything. Everything's just got different names and stuff. And there's some new features, but not everything's pretty much the same. It's just Rome. When I went to the research tree, there you have the military, there's the economic, and then there's farming and whatever. So it's a little different from the economic because the economic is its own like trade networks and stuff. So that research tree, I did 3 or 4 research things that I started like scrolling down, and they're just it doesn't end. I was like, I've put in tons of hours, and there's at least 50 research things at least going down, and I'm just like in the first 3 on this side. So I don't know, it's deep. It's a chunky game.
I think when you were saying about Ubisoft, I think it's always just worth considering though that Ubisoft, there are different studios, and each one they have their own cultures, they have their own games that they work on. And I was just looking now, I was curious which one worked on Anno, and it's Ubisoft Mainz, based out of Germany, Mainz. And the other games that studio work on is The Settlers. I had no idea. And that's all they do really is The Settlers and Anno, which is just fascinating. That's just come up 2 times in a row. They used to be called Blue Byte. Of course they did. So I guess Ubisoft then bought out Blue Byte and renamed it as Ubisoft Blue Byte Mainz.
Anno has a very large German following. If you go to Twitch, like if you look up Anno, like most times, not when a new game's come out, it's usually a German streamer.
Yeah, the gaming culture in Germany, where I lived for like 10 years, so call your jets, is peculiar. It has its own gaming culture, very much.
Yeah, you were very, very disrespectful to the Germans there by saying they played Anno.
Yeah. The gaming culture is what we refer to as shit. So
yeah,
you do find a big love of strategy games, very, very common. Simulation games are very, very common, and they're the ones that tend to get this market push. It's a bit of a meme, but there is a large amount of truth to Farming Simulator taking traction in Germany. And then you see, of course, strategy games. And like you said, you're often seeing this big audience, particularly German speaking, or German channels at least, on Twitch when you have games like Anno. It's not a surprise. It feels very much like it fits in with German gaming culture. And I have found a lot of young parents in Germany, at least when I was there, so this is going to be 5 years ago now. So 5 years ago, people in their early 30s, a lot of them were very hopped up on the idea that kids should never play games until they're like 15 that have like any sort of personalized violence in them. So you found kids being pushed to games like simulation games. You might find grand strategy. I think there was something about like the scale of it being battles that you weren't really controlling that sort of sanitized it ever so slightly. But you do find that culture there is pretty strong. So it's kind of unsurprising the kind of games that sometimes do take hold in the popular culture there, because these are the games that a lot of people were raised on and are being raised on.
Yeah, and that's definitely something I did after finishing now Dispatch, and so Dispatch is definitely one of those like I definitely think it's worthy of a Game of the Year for writing for sure. I think it should get some credit for that. If it doesn't win it, I kind of be shocked because it's superb in that regard. But yeah, Dispatch is definitely taken off. It's interesting how that team from Telltale has said, we know what we're good at. We're not going to try to reinvent the wheel of what we're good at. And I think it kind of shows. It was a really good game. I'm surprised how popular it got because they kind of just dropped it. We knew it was coming out, but they never gave us a release date.
I didn't.
Yeah. Well, you didn't, but we knew Dispatch was in development, but it'd been developed for like 5 years. Just like The Wolf Among Us 2 was in development for several years, but that ain't coming. But yeah, probably not. But Ad Hoc, who is on their own now completely, then said, okay, well, we're done assisting with that. They were done with their contract requirements, and now they just focus on Dispatch. And they said it was coming out, but they just kind of dropped it on us. So I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but I mean, it clearly didn't hurt.
No, it isn't the best way to do it. You ideally want to get your game out there with some people knowing that the goddamn thing exists, and ideally with some of build up. You can do too much build up. That's really a thing. But on the whole, just dropping a game very short notice is probably pretty bad practice. And most games that you do that for, they're not going to find success. On the other hand, when you do get success like this, I would say it's probably largely in spite of the fact that they did that. And I'm glad that they've had all the success in the world. But there was a moment when it came out when I saw a few people playing it who were friends. And then I asked a few other people who were friends who weren't playing it if they'd played it, and most of them just said, what the hell is that? They'd never heard of this game. And it looks really, really good. But I wonder sometimes if you can just shoot yourself in the foot with this spontaneous
I was definitely sending banana messages. Banana, it's out.
Didn't write to me though, did you?
So Legion and I had talked about it a while before it was released, and I think it was already on my wish list at that point. So when it came out and Legion started messaging me about it because he was playing through it, I had that like, oh, I remember talking about this. I had some interest then. I had no idea when it was going to be released, but now it's out and I'll take a look. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like there were a lot of people who were not aware of what Dispatch was immediately after its release, and it took a little kind of encouraging to get people to like to give it a chance and take a look into it, which is I think that's kind of why it has done well, is because the people who have played it then go on to share it with the people around them and say like, yeah, I had a great time playing this game. It's really solid. So it's doing that kind of more traditional marketing by word of mouth than actual marketing, which is, I think, working for them. But that's not something that always works.
Yeah,
especially if your game has issues.
Yeah, it's something that has worked for them. And you do find very often that gaming does feel quite meritocratic. You do tend to get good games do tend to rise up to the top. They do tend to be noticed. It doesn't mean it's exclusively meritocratic, because you can have a gigantic game with a gigantic budget that you give all the airtime in the world you can afford to put discounts on that's going to sell. And it might be trash. But generally, you have a pretty good chance. Good games do tend to get caught up, at least more than they do in many, many other industries. Likely because of the relative ease of entry. Not actually starting making a game, but when you have your game, it's relatively easy to get it out there, relatively easy to get it seen. Film, it's a lot harder, for example. Music, I'd argue it's probably a lot harder as well, because of the sheer quantity of music that gets made every day. Games, you don't have quite the same numbers. The thing that put me off Dispatch as well prior to knowing more about it. So it was this game that suddenly got dropped, suddenly got released. The poster or cover art, I think, is absolutely atrocious. It looks like someone threw it together in about 35 seconds, mostly via ChatGPT prompts. It looks very, very low budget. And that can be so off-putting in a world where there is that much crap out there. Which, to their credit, the game is so damn good that it manages to get past that. And it gets past the fact that they didn't advertise it properly. But I feel like in the advertisement, in the game's release, I feel like it's just misstep after misstep that is then just inverted, that is encountered by it just being a really, really good game that they managed to get in front of people.
Yeah, but everything is 100% hand done. There's zero.
No, I don't think it's AI. I think it looks like AI.
Yeah. I think like I said, it's kind of weird looking at Telltale on the back end of things. I was like, yeah, we all knew Telltale was good, but it's interesting to see the new audience, just even first encountering this type of game. Because I get it. It's not a game for gamers who are more interested in like the actual activity of a game, like an RTS or something. You're not going to get that with this type of game. This is a storytelling game. Like, the story comes first. And the dispatch portion of that is a mini game within the game that a lot of people have been saying, I want that exclusively as a game. And that could be the next thing they do, maybe. I don't know.
I don't expect this group to kind of run with that idea of taking the dispatch mini game out of dispatch and turning it into its own game, just because it does not fit the way that they make games. I think it would work. I think it could be successful, but I think this group does really well with the narrative, and if they're not going to invest in the narrative, I feel like it's not a worthwhile use of their time. So I feel like they maybe contract it to another studio or something, or they just move on to their next project. But I don't imagine they would try to build a game focused more around that dispatch mechanic.
Yeah, you'll often find as well, though, that we say this, and I haven't played Dispatch, so I can't comment directly on it. It's more of a general point. When we're playing a game and we say like, oh wow, this mini game is so good, or wow, this part of the game is so good, you can make an entire game out of this. A lot of the time, you couldn't. A lot of the time, the real charm comes from the fact that it is just a part of a bigger game. And it's the fact that you get to spend a bit of time in there, then you get to jump back out, do something else for a while, come back in before it wears out its welcome. The biggest example I can think of is the card game in Final Fantasy VIII. It's a really good mini-game card game, but I can't think of any way that would ever work as a standalone game. Never. And yet we say, wow, it's so good, I'd love to see that on its own. And essentially, you're just memeing more than anything else. That game as a standalone game, I couldn't see it ever working. Don't know exactly how it applies to this Dispatch game, but I just know it very often. It's a common tradition is to say, we would like this as a standalone game, and oftentimes I can't see how it would work.
It's there's some randomness in some of those things, and I'm trying to avoid spoilers too at the same time, but because of the way it's designed, maybe, and because you see it in games like The Witcher, where they did Gwent, and Gwent went on to be its own successful thing, and it's kind of like in that vein, and so I could see that, but again, Banana's not wrong. I mean, they're probably not going to, if they're going to go to like someone like Aspire, who's notorious for doing that third party execution and saying, what do you want? How do you want us to do it? And then they, fill that role. But who knows?
Yeah, I do see the appeal of that mini game. I think it's part of the reason why I have an interest in the game of Dispatch. The narrative is incredible, but I think this is one of those few games that has that almost visual novel kind of presentation where the gameplay isn't the focus. It's not really the reason you're buying the game. You're mostly buying it for what is essentially an interactive movie. You want to watch these events play out, and you appreciate the fact that you have some influence over the direction that the story goes. But mostly the story is kind of playing out in one of these branching paths that you select, regardless of how well you play the game. Dispatch is one of those few that kind of falls into that category where the gameplay that is in there is actually something I want to play. And this is just my taste, but like I compare it to games like the Dark Pictures anthology games, which are much more in that interactive movie category, in my opinion. I don't really want to play those. They just don't appeal to me. I'd much rather play a game that is more engaging in the actual gameplay. But Dispatch really strikes that balance, and I do see why people say like we want this as a standalone game. I don't know if I would genuinely enjoy it without the breaks between sessions, because I feel like if you were to make it a standalone game, it would get old very quickly because you're really just doing the same thing over and over and over again. I think the biggest part of the like appeal for that is the idea of that progression, which is something that I really like. But at a certain point, everybody's stats are maxed out, and then you just always succeed, and then it's not a game anymore. And I don't want that either.
Yeah, these interactive games are really just more or less an evolution from back when we had the CD-ROM games like Goosebumps and whatnot that were like, you know, it's just the evolution of it. So it's not anything new to like, you know, me, you, or Banana, but the way we're seeing it now is just in a modern day. And I can kind of appreciate them at least saying, let's just not do what's always been done before. Let's just kind of, you know, advance the medium. What about any games that you're going to be playing here upcoming that you intend to or plan to?
There's a handful, and I haven't started any of them. And I'm not expecting to, but these are the games that I aspire to play at some point in the future. So the top of the list is Final Fantasy Tactics, which I would like to finally play because I want to get a window into this side of Banana's world. And Banana's playing Rebirth, so I feel like I should probably play Final Fantasy Tactics if Banana is going to jump into the game that stole my heart and soul and left me unfit for anyone else. Then probably I should do the same to the game that stole Banana. So Final Fantasy Tactics is up there, and what better time than with the recent re-release of the game. I'm very, very curious to dive in and try that out. I think you can also play in the old style on that game, if I remember correctly as well, that you can switch between a bit like you could on the Monkey Island re-releases. So I'm curious what it might be like to see both. So that's going to be hopefully the next big game that I play. As well as that, there is Valkyria Chronicles 4, which I have had sat on my shelf for about 7 years. And recently I remembered how much fun I had playing Valkyria Chronicles 1. Very, very unusual game. Something about that strange combination of the storybook, I imagine, from a game I haven't played, very much like Dispatch. You spend a lot of time just watching scenes unfold. You're literally reading a comic book as the game goes by, and you click, I will read this scene now. And you watch the scene carry itself out. You don't make any choices. It just plays. And then you go and do some battles. Great. It's really, really good. So I'd like to play Valkyria Chronicles 4. And I think Deus Ex Mankind Divided, which is the second of the modern Deus Ex games, which I really enjoyed Deus Ex Classic. I really, really enjoyed Deus Ex Human Revolution, the first of the modern games, and then I just didn't play Mankind Divided. I don't know why. Just didn't play it. It's just sat there. Uninstalled, sometimes installed, sometimes not. On my desktop, waiting to be played. And now that I think about it, I have started that. I did about 30 minutes last week, which honestly is a pretty good first session for how these things tend to go. So if all things go well, Final Fantasy Tactics, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and if it ever comes down to a damn reasonable price, Spider-Man 2.
Well, you need to also include Black Myth Wukong, because Banana's doing his Plague Tale, I've done Death Stranding, whatever it's called. You're
Good start.
So,
You know, that game, whatever.
that you agreed to.
That I've been playing, apparently. The game that made me swear.
Yeah. Oh, Die Hard, man, go away. Just go away. Don't go away, man.
Yeah,
Just go away.
I have been doing a Plague Tale, and I think my first session of playing through that uh, lasted like an hour and a half, and I felt like I made some good progress. And then for whatever reason, just haven't gone back. I do intend to finish that very soon to get back into it, but I've also felt the desire to go try and finish Elden Ring. Which, if I do commit to that, it will consume so much of my time. But I think if I'm going to do that, I need almost like a roadmap for how to do like a first playthrough of everything in Elden Ring. The risk is that I do that and then I'm like, all right, let's do it again. Let's start a different character and let's try some of these challenges that people have done. I don't know that I will get sucked into that, but it's a possibility. But I definitely do want to go through Elden Ring and try to experience everything going on in that game. It's just that there's a lot. And because of the way I play games, like I'm making it more than it actually needs to be.
Honestly, I think that and Final Fantasy Rebirth are games that aren't made for you. And the way that you play games. I think they're both games that you would be better served accepting the things that you won't see and just sort of letting the game play out as however it happens to play out. Because you will see in both games, and let's just focus on Elden Ring, is the one that you've just mentioned. You will see the main story bosses no matter what you do. You will probably, by just issue of curiosity, if you see some big intimidating looking manor over on the horizon, you probably know there's something cool there and you'll probably go and find it. You probably won't dive into every cave. You probably won't find every last area. And the best thing you could do is just say that I won't. But it's not the way you play, is it?
It's really not. I mean, I got outside of Calm in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and immediately just started exploring the plains, trying to get like a systematic approach to like exploring everything. Yeah. And I'm like, this is not going to work. Mm-hmm. I think I have like 3 hours in that game, and I'd say like 90 minutes of it are just me running around picking up materials on the plains.
And you can get the impression already with that game that when you look at and I'm going to speak like glowingly about, from my perspective, the intro, the quality of that first hour and a half or so of the game, when it's very, very story driven, very story focused, you can feel like how good that could potentially be. And you can feel that that's going to be the highlights of these games. It's not going to be the moment that you spend sort of in between worlds. It's going to be the moment that you could find yourself in the story dungeons. It's going to be the moment when you find the characters getting a chance to interact with each other. It's just with the way that you play, there's a lot of stuff in between that, which is going to feel a lot like box ticking. But in the end, you do come out liking the games that you play, and you do come out enjoying the games that you've played, like with your method. So I'm sure you'll have a great time with both. It's just going to be a slog.
It's an investment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as Rebirth, I just want to say I absolutely suck at Queen's Blood. I'm so fucking terrible at that.
You know what? That should be its own game.
No. I do feel like I started to get a better understanding of the game itself towards the end of my play, but I was definitely like, that first game after the tutorial, I got my ass handed to me, and I was like, oh, right, you're like trying to control whether or not your opponent can play cards. Like, at a certain point, that might not be an option. I forgot. I thought we were just taking turns, but no, apparently I'm just sitting the rest of this game out.
I think that is actually the way that I started thinking about it after a while, was I started thinking about it like I think about XCOM games, which is how can I give the enemy the fewest turns possible? How can I stop them playing? And I love that card game. I think it's terrific. And I remember not hating it, but I remember being intimidated by it at the very beginning, sort of doing a few and then thinking, well, I don't really just want to go around struggling, getting my ass handed to me. But with a bit of time, that game really grew on me. Really came to adore it.
Yeah, I think it is well implemented. I think it's just the tutorial doesn't. It's one of those things we've talked about in other games. The tutorial tells you how to play in terms of the mechanics. It doesn't tell you how to play well.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, here's how you would play a card. Not here's how you would fuck over your opponent, which is the whole point.
Here's what card you should play here, why you should play it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all the things that if you were playing a game in real life, that like someone can tell you like which chess piece moves in which direction. They can tell you the rooks move straight. They can tell you the bishops move diagonally. They can tell you the pawns do their one step or their double at the start. They can tell you all of that, no problem. But then in the years after, you'll talk with people about the game as you're playing it, and you'll learn these strategies and moves from other people just by watching them do it. And you can't do that in this game. You can't go up to Queen's Blood NPCs and talk about the game, talk about their tactics and the way they play, and you're just expected to figure out that it's about minimizing your opponent's plays, that it's about removing their turns.
I noticed you kicked the shit out of me in that last game. Do you want to explain how?
No. See you at the Happy Turtle.
Yeah.
But without giving any spoilers or anything to Plague's Tale, but I would say at the beginning is fine. You know, you can always go back to it and you'll understand what's going on. But it does a very interesting thing with the story where it keeps twisting the narrative, and you'll be like, wait a minute, how did I get to this point? If you don't keep up with the narrative, because there will be moments where you're thinking, I know exactly what the story is going to be about. We're just doing this to this or whatever. And it definitely switches it up on you from time to time. So just there's that part. So once you're in it, just be careful with that.
I definitely feel like that is one of those games where like I will hit a certain point where I just want to keep going in that game. I feel like I'm at that point in the beginning now where it's like, okay, we've done the setup. I have a good idea of what's going on like in this world and who these people are, and I can take a break now. But I definitely feel like if I invest a little bit more, it's going to be, all right, well, I'm not playing anything else until I finish this story.
I had that with Mass Effect 1. I remember it was probably the only game I had like in my system at the time, so it really, I was gonna play it anyway. But I remember you get to I played, half an hour and thought, okay, this is kind of cool. Well, we'll see. And then it got to the decisive scene with Nihilus and Saren. And when that happened, I thought, ooh, okay, let's see. And just from that moment, I thought,
Murder, all right.
Yeah, because there was the feeling like, this is coming. But they do it in this really nice way, and the way the music's playing. And then I think the other bit was a few minutes later, you're working your way along a sort of cargo train. And I think there might be a Geth that runs at you down the train.
Yeah, just right after the Saren.
Yeah.
Killing
same
Nihilus.
area. There's that narrow kind of station almost for the train.
And doesn't the one just kind of like run down the track to you? Not the track, but like down the vehicle?
The aisle, yeah. Between everything. I
just remember that, and like it was that feeling of, oh, he's not just ducking behind cover. He's not just, doing his thing. He's doing something else. And it was another one of those moments, like just a few moments after the first, I think. I thought, yep, I'm in, and I'm just playing this now. And then all of a sudden, it's 20 years later, and Legion's got it as their background. And I'm staring at it because I love it.
Outside of the tavern games that I normally play about this time of the year, I'm looking forward at least
this time of the year, as if you don't play those all year.
Otherwise known as any month.
It becomes especially heavy around October, November, December for sure.
It's already a quarter of the year, so.
Well, but we're right in the middle of it. But as far as games coming up that aren't available to me now, but I'm looking forward to is there's a Star Wars game. And you might be interested in this one, Com. It's called Zero Company. And it is modeled directly out of XCOM. You'll have very different types of heroes. They'll have different abilities. You'll have force powers, non-force powers. You'll have droids. You could technically go into a battle with nothing but droids if you wanted to. But it's supposed to be story-centric at the same time. So it does look interesting. So it's XCOM style, but with a strong Star Wars story. So...
I think Com had the same immediate reaction and then kind of like softened on it, which was, we already have XCOM. I don't need Star Wars reskinned XCOM. And then as you went on to explain it, I was just like, yeah, you know what? This actually could be a very interesting game. But I still think it might fall into the trap of being Star Wars skinned XCOM, which doesn't have enough depth.
It's a genre that feels like it's been not mastered already, but it's a genre that feels like everyone who comes into it pays tribute to XCOM. Like they want to be some kind of next generation XCOM. It feels like we've got an entire generation of designers who played that re-release in 2012 and just thought, I want to make that game, but, and then insert nouns, adjectives, etc. And I'm very wary of them because a lot of these games tend to end up coming out pretty good, and then you play it and you think, that was fun, I'm going to go play XCOM now.
Yeah.
And it's not a great place to be, but I do think there is room for a like real narrative type game in this genre, because those aren't great generally. There's a few of them that are out there and they're not that good. This genre seems to function well when you don't really have a tight narrative, but you have some sort of like loose overarching story, something like the aliens are coming, just go and fight 50 missions until they're gone. It works really well like that. I'd be curious if you can make this work with a really, really tight narrative where you've got these predefined arenas, where you've got these predefined enemies, which I hope is what this is going to be, because that's the impression I get, in a universe that we already care about. And the one I wanted was Mass Effect. I want XCOM Mass Effect. I think that could work incredibly well. But I'll take XCOM Star Wars. And I promise not to call it XCOM Star Wars if it doesn't.
You can. I mean, everybody else is. So.
Only if they do it well.
If they do it well.
If they do it poorly, it's XCOM Star Wars.
Yeah, because right now, I'm sorry, it is XCOM Gears of War. It is Marvel XCOM. Yeah. Until you stand on your own 2 feet, let's hope.
Gamble, who is over the Mass Effect project at the moment at EA, BioWare EA, it's interesting. He's been retweeting and tweeting a lot, especially when people are talking about the Mass Effect multiplayer stuff, Mass Effect 3. He's been responding to a lot of them, just here and there, and it's so there's speculation that they might actually release it, say, as a re-release with maybe Legendary or something. Because we've been begging for it. We've been like, we love the multiplayer portion of.
I like that multiplayer a lot. I was a big fan.
I definitely feel like that's one of those things. If they go back to the multiplayer and they re-release it, it almost needs to be like a free DLC for the Legendary Edition.
I don't know if it's gonna be. Unless they think it's worth building up the goodwill in advance of Mass Effect 4.
Yeah, I think that's my concern. I don't see them releasing it as free DLC. I see them trying to make more money off of it. But, like, we bought the Legendary Edition after owning all 3 games. And we got all 3 games again with a little polish, except the multiplayer. It feels like something we've already paid for that we never got, and if they are now considering bringing it back, kind of feels like something that's already owed to their gaming audience. But I don't expect EA to see things that way.
Add to that a secondary detail that many of us, myself included, also owned the original multiple times, because a bunch of us had it on a console and then a PC, or the other way around. In my case, I had console first, then PC, and then Legendary Edition. And yeah, it does feel like we already own this. I guess it's going to go one of 2 ways. There's either going to be, because the voices are going to be, we can charge for this, so we will. If they do charge for it, I imagine they'll expand it. I don't know how much, but I imagine they'll expand it. Or they don't charge for it, it becomes a free DLC, and hopefully it's done genuinely out of wanting to build up goodwill for the release of Mass Effect 4, which I think they know that people are skeptical about because of the more recent offerings that we've seen from, this entire family of games. When was the last time we really felt good about these? Probably a decade ago. It's not a good sign. If they can build up a bit of that goodwill with the multiplayer DLC, maybe they can do themselves a big favor in advance. Sort of eat the cost now and hopefully reap the benefits later with Mass Effect 4.
Yeah.
And they were definitely cognizant of it missing from Legendary, because they even changed how war assets were allocated to make up that difference. Because unfortunately, with the original one, they did make it part of your war assets and your end scenes. You had to do the Mass Effect multiplayer just a few times to get those war assets, and that was it. But I never liked that. But at least they were cognizant of saying, well, we don't have it, so we can't, just throw it in there like it's missing. So they accommodated the difference. The good news is that when they integrated the legendary XP scaling, I mean, it almost didn't make any difference anyway if they did or they didn't. So
I also think if they release it as free DLC, there are still the microtransactions of Mass Effect 3 that they could make money off of. So I think that's even more reason for them to consider the possibility of a free DLC to the Legendary Edition. But I just have such a bad taste in my mouth with everything EA has done for a long time that I don't see that as the most likely way that this will play out. I hope I'm wrong, but I am very pessimistic about it.
Yes.
The one tweet I saw was the video of 3 Voluses, playing in the multiplayer map.
Yeah.
That is rough. That is so difficult. It's very hard to do. And they were running around doing their thing. Yeah.
That's exactly how you're supposed to do it.
Well, I did. Someone joins the program, you kick
the multiplayer, and because I got into Mass Effect a lot later than everyone, I didn't have anywhere near the access to various characters at the time that my friends did. And so they were playing with, like an Asari commando and some very capable and cool looking characters. And I just had a dude with a trip mine. And that was all he could do. I think he had a trip mine and a bow. And I was just like, it's Mass Effect. Why do you have a bow? And I definitely remember just confidently announcing every time I threw out a trip mine because it was the only way I could contribute to the fight. Now I'm super excited for the idea that I can get my little Volus friend in there and confidently announce the one time I use my ability before instantly going down. Because I have a feeling that's going to happen a lot.
Gamers Advocate Mass Effect multiplayer stream when? Oh, when they fucking release it, that's when.
Yeah, that's the biggest obstacle right now.
You can still access the old servers, but good luck if it actually runs well. You know, maybe you won't connect. It's bad. But there's an engineer you could play. This is the one time I really loved playing engineer that wasn't traditional, and it was the human engineer, and he was like almost like a cannoneer. So you could just. He was a grenadier, I guess is a better term, but you could stack up the mods so he could hold an extra 6 grenades on top of his 3, and you could put down a loot box, so you were always near a resupply. So you could just bunker down, throw grenade, and just wipe it out. It only worked on bronze and silver. If you got to gold, I mean, that wasn't going to do nothing. But yeah, you could take out broods, you could take out banshees if they were just coming at you. Just easy. That was fun, but easy map. Good times.
The best.
Make Mass Effect great again.
Yeah, I definitely want that. I want multiplayer back.
Me too. Bring it back.
It helped me play Insanity, or at least be comfortable with Insanity, the multiplayer, because
you can't get more insane than the internet.
Well, just learning the buttons.
Legion got very familiar with people not helping him, so he was ready for Insanity.
If you were played with capable people on Platinum, we were going to die probably anyway, because it was hard. It was difficult.
We 3, I'm telling you, I can see this. The day it gets dropped, we'll do a live stream.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll smash it together.
Yeah.
It'll be the last episode of the Gamers Advocate.
And now we hate each other.
Yeah.
God, the legal battle is going to be tough.
God damn it, Legion. Where's my backup? I'm coming.
My mouse disconnected.
Battle. How do we distribute the $0 in assets you all claim ownership over?
No one's having my pullover.
Well, if you liked the episode, like it.
No one's arguing.
Yeah. If you if you haven't yet subscribed, please do so.
Because they're afraid.
Comment if you have a game that you're going to be playing here pretty soon that you're excited to play, or one of the ones we mentioned that you've also played recently. But we will check you guys later. Bye bye.